Hello, my name is VIlla-Lafontaine, and today I'll be discussing the effects of using alternative ingredients on the properties of pancakes. About 2 tons of pancakes are consumed each year in the United States. The pancake industry makes $16 billion each year. Pancakes are increasingly popular because they're versatile, filling, and customizable. As popularity and demand increase, it's important to find accommodations for people who enjoy eating baked goods but have specific dietary restrictions.
Now I'll be discussing the importance of substitute ingredients in food. In the United States, 32 million people have at least one food allergy. Alternative ingredients can be allergy friendly and allow people to have the same experience as eating a burger without meat or ice cream without dairy. In addition, alternative foods could reduce staple crop prices, slow down deforestation, and make the global food system more resilient to supply chain disruptions and climate change. Alternative foods are projected to reach a net worth of $17.9 billion by 2025, with a steadily increasing demand worldwide. The first row here shows the typical ingredients used to make a pancake to have a sweet smell and a fluffy, airy texture. The second row here shows alternatives to the ingredients above. However, it wouldn't be identical to the pancake as seen in the picture. It would have a difference in taste and texture, and based on the experiments conducted in lab, it would show how the properties of the pancake changed when using other ingredients.
Now focusing on the process for the quantitative measurements. The first property we measured was the distance the batter traveled down a flat surface within 30 seconds. So we added 30 milliliters of batter horizontally, then flipped the surface vertically and measured the distance it traveled with a ruler. The pancakes were then cooked two different ways, a batch of six with a circular mold and a second batch without the mold. So the first batch of pancakes with the mold was used to measure their central height, and the ones without the mold was used to measure their diameter. Then the pancakes with the mold had their center cut out into a cubic shape, weighed out to find the mass, and used water displacement to measure their volume. From these measurements, the density of the pancake was obtained. The first reaction is an acid-base reaction, with the glucose and baking powder reacting producing lactic acid, water, and most notably carbon dioxide gas, providing air bubbles in the batter. In addition, the lactic acid reacts with the flour to produce even more carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide causes the pancake to be fluffy and airy. The second reaction here is the Maillard reaction. Raising the heat on the pancake batter causes a chemical reaction between the amino acids in the proteins, which are the milk and eggs, and then with the sugars, carbon and oxygen atoms. This gives the pancakes its aroma and golden brown color.
Now looking at the first aim, the types of leavening agents affects the dimensions of the pancake. So the graph shows the central height and density measurements for no leaveners, baking powder, club soda, yeast, and monosodium glutamate, or MSG. So the baking powder produced the tallest stack of pancakes compared to the other leavening agents. Based on the literature, baking powder is expected to produce more carbon dioxide from its reaction with glucose than yeast. Yeast follows a biological reaction where a single-celled organism consumes sugar and releases carbon dioxide. However, the reaction for yeast to produce this carbon dioxide requires more time than baking powder. That's why when baking bread with yeast, the dough must rest for the yeast to activate entirely. Since here it didn't fully activate for the pancake experiment, it resulted in flatter pancakes. The density graph is inversely proportional to the central height, where the baking powder resulted in the least dense pancakes because it was fluffy and airy from the carbon dioxide gas, while comparing to yeast, had the thickest pancakes, or the denser pancakes, since it didn't produce a lot of carbon dioxide molecules in the reaction. Now looking at the next aim, increasing the amount of sugar increases the browning on the pancake surface. So the Maillard reaction occurs faster as there's more of the reactant here, the sugar. And in this case, increasing the amount of sugar causes the pancake to get browner. And this aligns with the result in literature when changing the amount of sugar in shortbread cookies. So more sugar begins caramelizing at higher temperatures, creating a golden brown color as seen in the 100 grams of sugar pancakes.
Increasing the amount of sugar didn't affect the dimensions of the pancake. So the results show that there isn't a correlation between the amount of sugar with the central height and density of the pancake. Now, based on literature, the pancake's central height is affected by the amount of carbon dioxide produced in the batter. The acid-base reaction that produces carbon dioxide, we've seen it previously, is with the baking powder and glucose. The sugar doesn't participate. The sugar does participate in the Maillard reaction for browning and sweetness of the pancake, as we saw previously, but it doesn't affect the pancake's height and fluffiness. The graphs show the central height and density versus the fat content from different milk types. From the results, there isn't a strong relationship between the fat content and the central height and density. From the literature, the pancakes with milk should have fluffier and higher pancakes. This is because the milk contains fat and protein, which contributes to the texture and structure of the pancake. The protein in the milk helps to form gluten, which gives additional structure to the pancake and allows it to rise, making them fluffier. In addition, the acidity from the milk interacts with the baking powder in the acid-base reaction, producing more carbon dioxide to make the pancakes fluffier. The density graph shows a slight difference between 2% milk and whole milk versus water, where the milk pancakes have a slightly smaller density than with water. The fat content versus the distance traveled shows increasing the fat content increases the viscosity of the batter. So the distance traveled by milk with higher fat content represents the decreasing distance traveled by the batter as the fat content increased, with a notable exception. Despite having a lower fat content, buttermilk formed a more viscous batter than 2%. This can be attributed to the buttermilk having added cultures and undergoes lactic acid fermentation. The microbes utilize the natural sugars in the milk and release acids. The release of acids lowers the milk's pH, denatures the casein protein, and causes a thickening of milk. Except for this point, a downward trend can be observed for the distance traveled as the fat content increases. Varying the pancake ingredients, leavening agents, sugar, milk, affects the browning and central height of the pancake. So for fluffier and airier pancakes, the better leavener is baking powder. Increasing the sugar results in browner pancakes, and adding milk with a higher fat content helps the taste and create fluffier pancakes.